Good morning, everybody. Well, I'm slightly out of kilter being in a creative environment traditionally, because if you ask people who know me, is Claire creative? Traditionally, I can't draw, I'm not an actress, I don't play musical instruments, and years ago I would have said I wasn't creative. But the whole world has completely changed. We're in the modern 21st century, and every single person, whatever subject you're doing, any walk of life can be creative and can be enterprising. I've learned over the last 10 years, since I left university, that I'm very good at ideas, I'm very good at problem solving, I'm very good at spotting opportunities, I'm very, very enterprising and entrepreneurial. And in hand, creativity goes hand in hand with that. The two are completely interwoven. I talk to people a lot about what's happened since The Apprentice, starting a business, climbing the ladder, selling a business. And they said, how did it all start? Did you have a big master plan? When I was sat in your seats 15 years ago, I'm hopefully not too over the hill at 32, I had absolutely no clue what I wanted to do. And I've made some mistakes along the way. I've learned, I've been creative, and I've really thought on my own 2 feet. I call the light bulb moment is absolutely critical to what's really helped me over the last 10 years and being successful. And people talk about when things just fall into place, and I just knew. I've met so many successful people over the last couple of years from all different walks of life, from people in Formula One, to music, to cookery, to big entrepreneurs like Richard Branson and Lord Sugar. And people say, I just knew. And that moment can happen sometimes when you're 16. I know people, entrepreneurs, people who found their walk of life, people who are 21 like myself, I discovered what I wanted to do, people who are 60 like my mum, who's just had a big career change. And it all comes down to the light bulb moment. Now the light bulb moment, I was thinking about it as I was driving here today. It's quite a wishy-washy, sometimes a creative term, and I thought, what does it really mean to me? Now, I like to keep things simple, because I think if you keep it simple, you take it away and you keep it in your head and you'll take it through life. And I thought, it's pie. It's preparation, it's instinct, and it's experience. So when all those 3 things come together, so you know your subject matter, you've got some experience, and you've got that instinct, and all 3 drop together, that's when you have the moment, I know what I can do. So over the last 10 years, I've relied on light bulb moments. I haven't had a big master plan. I never left school when I was at 16, 17, 18 and went to university saying, I'm going to be an entrepreneur, I'm going to go on a show with one of the biggest entrepreneurs in the country and have my own business. I made a few mistakes. I left school and I went to university and I did medicine. And my light bulb moment from studying medicine at university is got to be passionate and love what you do. It was too restrictive, it was too blinkered, it wasn't for me, but I learnt my light bulb moment after being there for 6 months, this just is not for me. Horses, so again, nothing to do with creativity. I went on and I studied equine science at university, but I realised, I had a wake-up call when I was at university, that this was not going to take me in life where I wanted to be. I needed a challenge, I wanted a certain lifestyle, I wanted to really push myself and push my boundaries, and I was always looking for that curiosity and to see how far I could take myself. I've thrown myself out of planes, next year I'm climbing Everest for charity. I'm always looking to see what you can do. Ask yourself, when was the last time you really challenged yourself? When was the last time you tried something new, you really pushed yourself to the limit? Because it's amazing when you do that, what you really can achieve. I'm very, very open-minded, and I think all of us here should look at ourselves like sponges. Somebody said this to me in the early days of my career. He said, be a sponge, absorb, take in as much information as you can. The days are long gone when people used to put people into boxes. If you were good at art, you were creative. If you were good at history, you were an academic. If you were good at business, you were an entrepreneur. Those blinkers are completely off now. Every single person is creative. Every single person is enterprising and they're woven into any single career you do. So I lifted my brain, opened my mind up, and I accelerated up the career ladder, learning about something I knew nothing about. With the right attitude, you can learn anything. A month ago, I was taught how to lay brick walls and change engine oil, an event I went to. Never done that before. I've never climbed Everest before. With the right attitude, being open-minded, being enterprising, being creative, the world is absolutely your blank canvas and you can go out there and achieve great things. So before The Apprentice, I climbed the ladder and I learned about business. I learned about this creative, entrepreneurial environment I knew nothing about. I worked for the brand leader in beauty. I learned about marketing. I learned about social media. I learned about how to persuade consumers to walk into your store and buy a product. Very, very creative. Again, I don't draw. I can't play a musical instrument. I'm not an actress. But in my own way, I found my channel to be creative. I then moved on to learn about spreadsheets. Now, how could you ever think that a spreadsheet could be creative? But building a business plan and finding opportunities and working ways to find solutions, what I did for this company, that's being creative. That's finding a solution to a problem and building a business. Taking an idea and watching it grow and develop. Retail, being creative with consumers, coming up with ideas. How do you get us to spend more money? How do you excite us in store? The challenges, the ideas, you're constantly having to come up with ideas and problems and solutions. And this is the job I was doing before The Apprentice. So for somebody who, when I was growing up, I thought I was really, really uncreative because I was pouring all these typical traditional courses, I was doing very well, learning about a very exciting business, creative, entrepreneurial environment. Going in The Apprentice, 12 weeks of business boot camp, I personally don't think you get a more enterprising, creative experience ever. You jump from selling fish on a market, coming up with ideas, how you're going to sell, how you're going to win, to pitching to a global president of one of the largest advertising companies in the world. It literally was 12 weeks of 20-hour days of creative thinking, thinking of ideas, coming up with solutions. It's very, very challenging, and I loved it. I loved every second. And exactly what it says on the slide, rising to the challenge. The people who say to me, I'd love to go on the Junior Apprentice, I'd love to go on to The Apprentice, all of us can. It takes 5 minutes to do it. To take the risk, take the blinkers off, have a go, and push yourself and see what you can do. So I left The Apprentice 2 years ago, reached the final, unfortunately didn't win. In front of 11 million people I lost, but sometimes life doesn't go the way you want it to. And I chose to start a business. My light bulb moment, I took 2 months after The Apprentice to decide to gather my information, to prepare, to really think about it, because my instinct in the pie was unsure. I had over 500 job offers, and I took time to decide. Now, starting a business is very, very creative. As an entrepreneur, you have an idea and you take a risk, and you go out there and you take the risk to make that idea turn into reality. It's very scary. I compare the experience of jumping out of a plane. When you're sat 15,000 feet at the edge of a plane and somebody says, do you want to jump? In reality, you don't want to jump, but you go for it. You push yourself, you challenge your boundaries, and starting a business from scratch, you're not being given a task, it's your idea, it's your business plan, it's your baby. That was the light bulb moment for me. I slept on it for 2 months and I woke up and I thought, the idea of not doing this is not possible. I've got to see if it happens. And that is the true sense of an entrepreneur, that they will go through with their actions. So starting a business, I started a business after The Apprentice, which I sold at the beginning of this year. And now I work with young people all over the country, and that's why it's an absolute privilege to be here today, because you are a beacon for thousands of schools who will be logging onto the website, watching this event. You are setting the standard for so many other schools to follow, so it's a real privilege for me to be here and talking to you in an audience. I'm very, very passionate about working with young people because you are our future. You could be the next Richard Bransons, the next Karen Brady's, you are the next stars of the future, and all of you are enterprising, all of you are creative in whatever walk of life you want to do. I was with Alan Sugar a couple of months ago. He's a huge supporter of Backing Young Britain. We were at Number 10 talking to the Prime Minister about how people need to approach things differently. And I'm always very vocal. We need to take the blinkers off. We need to stop putting people into boxes and being a lot more open-minded. So today, I'm putting myself in that position. When I said to people that I was presenting at a creative academy, they said, well, you're not creative. Well, I am. I'm an entrepreneur. We're all creative in different ways. So here I am, I'm pushing myself out of my boundaries. All of these people work with young people. 2 of them are my businesses, most of them are government organisations. And when I was young, we didn't have, when I was young, I sound really old now saying that, but when I was your age, we didn't have any of this. So as young people, please be sponges, open yourselves up, take the blinkers off, and grab all the opportunities you can, like you are today. The fact you're sat in this audience and you've made the effort to come, absolutely brilliant. So that's all from me. I'm conscious of time. We've got a jam-packed schedule. Please contact me. I have embraced some form of creativity and technology. I'm on Twitter, so interestingly, hands in the air, students who's on Twitter. I'm very surprised. Twitter is going to be the #1 marketing tool over the next year, and there's lots and lots of interesting, some really creative people on there. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoy the morning, and thank you very much for your time.